For as long as humans have existed, nature has reminded us who is in control. Earthquakes that flatten cities in seconds. Hurricanes that erase coastlines overnight. Floods, wildfires, volcanic eruptions. Forces so vast and indifferent that all we can usually do is react after the damage is done. But what if that was never the only option? What if, somewhere between ambition and desperation, humanity tried to build something unthinkable, a device meant not to predict natural disasters, but to stop them? The idea sounds impossible, almost arrogant. And yet, throughout modern history, scientists, engineers, and governments have quietly explored the same forbidden question: can nature be controlled? The earliest traces of this idea appeared in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, when industrial progress convinced many that science had no limits. If electricity could light cities and machines could conquer distance, then surely the forces of the Earth itself could be influenced. Early theories proposed that earthquakes were not purely random, but stress responses, energy building deep underground until it violently released. If that energy could be dispersed slowly, the thinking went, then a catastrophic quake might never occur. At first, these ideas lived only on paper. Equations, blueprints, academic speculation. But after World War II, the tone changed. The atomic age revealed that humans now possessed tools powerful enough to alter the planet itself. Underground nuclear tests demonstrated something unsettling. Detonations could trigger seismic activity miles away. Shockwaves traveled through bedrock. Fault lines shifted. The Earth responded. And that realization sparked a dangerous thought. If human-made energy could disturb the planet, could carefully controlled energy stabilize it? By the 1950s and 1960s, classified research programs began appearing under vague titles and civilian cover projects. Some focused on injecting fluids deep underground to release tectonic pressure gradually. Others experimented with massive vibration systems, machines designed to send low-frequency waves into fault zones, theoretically preventing sudden stress buildup. None of this was publicly discussed. Not because it was science fiction, but because it was too real, too risky. One miscalculation could cause the very disaster it was meant to prevent. As technology advanced, the scope expanded beyond earthquakes. Weather control became the next frontier. Governments were already experimenting with cloud seeding, attempting to induce rainfall during droughts. But some scientists proposed more radical concepts, devices that could disrupt hurricane formation by altering temperature gradients in the atmosphere, or systems capable of weakening storms before they reach land. One proposal described a network of ocean-based energy platforms that would siphon heat from tropical waters, the fuel hurricanes depend on. Another suggested directing high-energy radio waves into storm systems to destabilize their internal structure. On paper, it looked elegant. In reality, it bordered on planetary-scale experimentation. The most controversial ideas involved the ionosphere, the electrically charged layer of Earth's upper atmosphere. Researchers theorized that by manipulating this region with focused energy, weather patterns could be nudged, redirected, or suppressed. Officially, such facilities were described as communication or research installations. Unofficially, critics feared they represented the first true disaster control devices. The problem wasn't just whether these machines could work. It was whether they should. Natural systems are interconnected. Changing one variable doesn't simply stop an earthquake or weaken a storm. It shifts energy somewhere else. Prevent a quake in one region, and stress may accumulate in another. Disrupt rainfall patterns, and distant ecosystems may collapse. The Earth, it turns out, does not like being controlled. Several experiments ended quietly after producing unexpected results. Minor seismic disturbances, where none had occurred before. Sudden weather anomalies with no clear explanation. Data that refused to behave as predicted. In some cases, projects were shut down not because they failed, but because they worked too unpredictably. By the late 20th century, many of these programs faded into obscurity. Funding disappeared. Facilities were rebranded or dismantled. Official records were sealed or heavily redacted. Publicly, the narrative returned to disaster preparedness, early warning systems, and recovery efforts. Privately, the question remained unanswered. Could a device truly stop natural disasters, or would stopping one disaster simply create another? In recent years, the idea has resurfaced under a new name: climate intervention. Modern technology now allows us to model Earth systems with unprecedented accuracy. Satellites track tectonic shifts down to millimeters. Supercomputers simulate storms before they form. Artificial intelligence predicts patterns once invisible to human analysis. And once again, the temptation appears. If we can predict disaster with precision, why not intervene? Today's proposals are more subtle, but no less ambitious. Underground pressure release systems designed to operate continuously rather than violently. Smart flood control networks that reshape waterways in real time. Atmospheric modification techniques framed as climate protection rather than control. The language has changed, but the goal is familiar. Some scientists argue that refusing to act is itself a form of recklessness. As climate change intensifies natural disasters, they claim, intervention may become not just possible, but necessary. Others warn that playing engineer with planetary systems risks consequences we are not equipped to handle. There is also the ethical question no technology can escape. Who decides when a disaster should be stopped? Which city is protected, and which is sacrificed? If one nation controls a device capable of influencing earthquakes or storms, does it become a weapon by default? These questions may explain why, if such a device exists today, it would remain hidden. No government openly admits to possessing technology that can interfere with natural disasters. No official document confirms a working system designed to suppress earthquakes or control hurricanes. And yet, scattered evidence suggests research has never fully stopped, only gone quieter, more compartmentalized, more cautious. Perhaps the device was built, tested, and deemed too dangerous to use. Perhaps it failed and was abandoned. Or perhaps it exists, dormant, waiting for a moment when the cost of doing nothing outweighs the risk of intervention. Nature has always been the final authority. Every civilization that believed it could dominate the earth eventually learned otherwise. But humanity has never stopped trying, because the stakes are survival itself. So the question remains unresolved. Not because it lacks answers, but because the answers are uncomfortable. A device that could stop natural disasters would not just change science. It would change power, responsibility, and the balance between humanity and the planet it depends on. And maybe the most unsettling possibility is this: the greatest obstacle was never technological. It was the realization that some forces were never meant to be controlled, only respected.